How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing today? Oh. We'll start in just a second, but we have a couple things to go over. And yeah. We'll give people just a little bit of time. I've been out. Can't expect people to stick with me when I've been out a little bit. Now, a new thing is I'm gonna try to within 24 hours. That's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna try to, within 24 hours, release these to YouTube. Yeah, we'll see. I'll need your guys' support. Hopefully people can find the YouTubes and like it. Nighthound, how are you doing? How are you doing, my friend? Yeah, I would say like it was a nice break, but I actually worked a lot. Let's see. I don't even remember why I couldn't 2 weeks ago. I haven't streamed for 2 weekends. What was the first week? I can't even remember. I have done so much between then and now. What did I tell you guys I was doing? Unless if it was something for the CIA, NSA, or MI6, I can tell you. I would have told you. They get a little fussy about. What did I do 2 weekends ago? Oh, so 2 weekends ago, family reunion. That's what it was. Oh gosh. 2 weekends ago, family reunion. Last weekend, I went up to my mom and dad's to help my dad split wood. So he eats with wood. So I had to go split wood with him to help him out. He's only like 2 hours away, which is much closer. He used to be like 6 because you have to go through Columbus. So he was like 6 hours away. And now I don't have to go through Columbus. Not as close as I would like, but this is the property that I was able to get. It's like 2 hours away. But if you're taking the kids and the dogs, like, you gotta spend a weekend. And then what I did was I actually have a PM that works out of Columbus. So I'm not in the product org. But so I drove to Columbus to on Friday to work with her. And then went to my parents' house since they're close. But made for a long weekend. Either way. All right, we can get into some of the stuff here. Yeah, Nighthound, I can't be too open with my top secret government contracts. You know, making the new, you know, quantum computing is cool. I'm making that thing past quantum computing. Can't really talk about it. Can't even give it a name. We call it quantum meter. That's all I can come up with on the spot. Okay, don't judge me. All right, shall we get started? Trying something a little new. I'm going to take topics from the week. We're going to talk about them. We're going to explore them a little bit. We're going to try to learn something from them if we can, and we're going to then move on. So I'm going to also program. So don't worry about that. Not that many people come for that anyhow. But we'll do that a little bit later. First, we're gonna talk about some of the new stuff that's going on. Is it bigger than Web 4? Dude, it's bigger than Web 5. It's bigger than Web 5. So I don't know what you Web 4s are thinking about. All right, let's throw down a marker. I think that's how we do this. All right, so as many of you know, I'm gonna try to do something a little bit new. I'm gonna try to make it so that the stream's more reachable, more approachable. I'm gonna try to make some content that really fits and works with YouTube, so that I can cut these up and post them to my YouTube clips, and we'll see how that works. So give me your feedback. Let me know how you're liking it or not liking it. And I'll try to make it better as we go. There's a few other changes, not quite ready to announce. It's more about how I make YouTube videos. I've been doing a ton of research and reading on those, and so there will be changes. I basically have two different types of YouTube video content, and I'm going to be doing some stuff there. So anyways, stay tuned for that. All right, let's talk about who broke the internet. Now, every once in a while, the internet has a hiccup, and usually it's one of the major service providers going down, and that takes out, you know, a chunk of internet. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if you look at something like this, we generally have, we're gonna say we have three big providers. I know that Oracle is getting a little upset about this, but we have three major providers, and there are some people that are redundant. So they'll sit in these, you know, this is AWS, this is Azure, and this is GCP. So let's do like AWS. All right. So, you know, you might run in both. These people would be redundant, you know, in AWS and GCP, and they might be able to survive a minor AWS outage, but these people here would be unable to survive a AWS outage because they're fully on AWS. Can I collapse this? Not easily. Not easily. For this news, it would be cool to collapse. Oh, yeah. There we go. Ha. Ha. All right. So now when I say minor about this right here, what a lot of people don't talk about is you don't always implement everything. Like, you have major failovers for like important things, but if an entire cloud goes down and your primary thing is in AWS, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to survive unless you've done it really, really well, which is actually quite difficult to do. We can get into how difficult it can be to do this. Now, what happens is when one of these big providers go down, when one of these big providers, whether it's Google, whether it's Azure, AWS, the chunk of internet powered by that provider goes dark. That's generally how it works. The chunk of the internet powered by AWS, Google, or Azure goes away. And you're only able to access then the chunks that are made by the other two. AWS is actually the largest one, but Azure is actually catching up on that. So both of them have in the 20% of the internet, and nobody uses Google for good reason. For good reason. So what happened? Well, as best we can find, Google went down. But when a cloud provider goes down, you don't expect it to affect. You don't expect. I don't know why this is drawing so fat. That's going to be better. That's going to be better. You don't expect other cloud providers to be affected by it. Google going down shouldn't have affected anybody but Google, right? That's what you would think. But unfortunately, there was a cheeky blog release that was released in an inopportune time. So we were going to talk about we shipped finalization registry in workers, why you should never use it. And the reason you should never use it is because it's probably backed by workers KV. And if it was backed by workers KV, which a lot of their products are, it went down, and it went down hard. So there was 3 hours of outage. And we're going to track back why Cloudflare had a problem. Now, a lot of you probably know by now, I thought about making this when there was less data available, but a lot of you know by now that Cloudflare actually has a part of their architecture actually uses a third party. This is generally considered a no-no for a cloud provider. If you're a cloud provider, you are providing what these people are providing. You don't leverage another provider. So basically what we have, if we're looking at it over here, Cloudflare has a dependency. Let's go over here on this Google bubble. Now, we'll get into why I think that's I was actually really surprised by this. I was super surprised by the fact that Cloudflare would depend on Google at all, and have a dependency. And we'll get to what I've been able to understand of the problem so far. But that's the fact of the matter. There is a thing that Google makes, and I'll get into what I think that is. I've been trying to suss some of this stuff out for you all, but we'll get into it. So Cloudflare has a dependency on Google. At least that's what I can tell. There has been very little communications from Google, and Cloudflare did a really good job, and that's what we're gonna jump into. So Cloudflare had a service outage. Let's talk about the service outage here, and then we're gonna talk about what they did really, really well, and what I think is so worth talking about. Because you have a ton of people out there talking about this. So if you want to know more about this, we will talk about it here. But you have a lot of people talking about this. Cloudflare had a dependency on Google. Okay, great. Let's read their report. And mind you, this report was on the same day of the outage. And I want to say this was like an hour after the outage that all of this was written up. Okay, so fantastic time-wise, but let's get into it. Cloudflare service outage, June 12th, 2025. On June 12th, 2025, Cloudflare suffered a significant service outage that affected a large set of critical services. For the most part, everything was down. There was a few things, I think like their API that survived, but their API to what? Including Workers KV, Warp, Access, Gateway, Image, Stream, Workers AI, Turnstile, Challenges, AutoRag, Zara. I didn't even know this. Zaraz? I've never heard this service. I've never looked at it. Okay, it probably does something really cool since I didn't know it existed. And parts of the Cloudflare dashboard. The outage lasted 2 hours, 28 minutes. It was really closer to 3 hours. And globally impacted all Cloudflare customers using the affected services. The cause of this outage was due to a failure in the underlying storage infrastructure used by the worker KV service. Now, if you're not familiar with the worker KV service, it's a key value store. You can do a lot with key value stores. Like, yeah, you can do a lot with key value storage. So it's very useful, which means a lot of services use it. Now, which is a critical dependency for many Cloudflare products and relied on for configuration, authentication, and asset delivery across the affected services. Part of this infrastructure is backed by a third-party cloud provider, which experienced an outage today and directly impacted the availability of our KV service. So there's two very interesting things that is super awesome here. One of these things was originally championed by, I want to say it was AWS. And there's probably a smaller thing, but AWS is the person that scaled this concept to a massive size. And that's the fact that AWS, or Cloudflare, for that matter, is built on top of Cloudflare. So why I say AWS is they were very famously, Jeff Bezos was like, all right, everything that you build is a service. Everything that you build is a service that can be consumed internally or externally. So Cloudflare obviously does this. We've actually pointed that out in other things that they do, but this is saying it again. The reason all their other services went down was because they were depending on their own services. And what does this do? And why is this a big deal? Well, this is a big deal because this is why their services are so... Do you know why Google... We make fun of Google, but do you know what one of the big reasons people don't like Google? It's not the services they even use themselves. If you're talking about, do they use Kubernetes? Well, no, they don't use Kubernetes, and especially not the Kubernetes GCP gives you. They actually use a different thing. Not that. Do they use Spanner? Well, yeah, but it's a different Spanner. They don't use the things that they give you. Google itself is built off of something else. And to prove that even further, do you know what didn't go down during all of this? Google.com does not use GCP. That's pretty rough. Okay, let's keep going. Anyways, I think that's actually a really good point because it makes Cloudflare better, more reliable. Cloudflare uses Cloudflare. One, that's a vote of confidence. When a company doesn't use their own stuff, that's their own vote of inconfidence. When you use it yourself, you get to know the ins and outs of it. You know ways to improve it. You know ways that you'd like it to work in the future. Your PMs have an easier time. You're one of the customers. And so you can make the base Cloudflare better. So this is awesome. It's something that's really important. It's something that AWS and Cloudflare do. And I think, I don't know so much on Azure. I will see if I can't figure that out with the people that I know that work there. My guess is that some of the services are built that way. It's a pretty popular way. Dog fooding is what people call it a lot of the time. And it's what Google doesn't do. And the experience with AutoRag, I have not used their AutoRag. No. Okay. Well, let's go on because there's another piece here that I think is really important. And we're going to touch on this. Oh, you know what? I had meant to turn the music off while we were doing this. All right. There was a bit of information here in this paragraph that we really need to touch on. part of this infrastructure is backed by a third-party cloud provider, which experienced an outage today and directly impacted the availability of our KV service. Why is this important? This right here is really, really important. When you use Cloudflare, this is you. You know, we're gonna draw you. I'm an artist. When you leverage Cloudflare, you are buying Cloudflare. You are buying their services, their reliability, their promise. Now, we always say this, but how we implement things, how engineers do this, how they build this is really up to them. If they want to leverage GCP, which I don't think they will in the future, but if they want to, you don't and shouldn't care, right? If Cloudflare says that we're going to promise you 99.9999% uptime, so this is their promise here, 99% uptime. What is this? This is 6 nines. They're wanting to say 6 nines. I don't know what Cloudflare says that they're going to do. But if they want to say that they have 6 nines and give that to you, you don't care how they do that. They could do that by leveraging multiple clouds. They could do it on their own hardware. And honestly, we do this all the time. Whether it is putting a database as a service that you give people and that they can leverage in the cloud, whether this is your, even Craigslist. When people go to Craigslist.com, they're going to something that is backed somewhere. It's running on some provider. Now, if Craigslist goes down, it's probably one of these clouds, right? Sure, it probably is. But you don't really care. That's an implementation detail. And what I love about this is they did not say who went down. In fact, it was a big question. Why did Cloudflare go down? Why? So, now if we're talking about who went down, let's show you this. Now, I want to point out, this is the bump we're talking about. This is the bump we're talking about. Not this bump. This was their own problem. Not this bump. We're talking about this bump here. Now, one of the things that we need to point out is that Google didn't go down. This was GCP. Which this was being reported on Google, but it wasn't actually google.com that survived. As you can see, this is like a very sharp peak and then comes back down, where the real outage was a while. The real outage took a little while. So these are the things that went down. What I do want to talk about is the Azure and AWS one, because I don't actually think these two went down. I think something else unrelated was. What made it difficult in all of this was that Twitch also went down. So I don't have Twitch here. Twitch did go down, but I believe that Twitch was actually their own doing. It just coincided with the rest of the internet going down. Twitch is on AWS though, but I don't know of another AWS site that actually had problems, or Azure. But I do believe that there was some stuff going wonky with AWS. I'm just not sure exactly its full thing. So that's like the full thing. Anyways, in all of that, they didn't say. Actually, it required third parties that actually got in touch from representatives. So what's causing the service outage? Cloudflare status page. We're continuing to do this. What you can see here is, an outage of a third-party service, which a key dependency. And what we have to come to is this right here, is A previous update on the page said, we have identified the root cause and applied appropriate mitigation. Our infrastructure has recovered in all regions. Google Cloud products that rely on the affected infrastructure are seeing recovery in multiple locations. If we go look, I guess there are representatives. So Google Cloud, none of the representatives talk to me. I would love to talk to you guys. A Cloudflare representative, the cause of the massive outage of the disruption of the service was that it was Google. And that's what brought all of this down. Let's look at so this is the down detector. This was the Google. Let's see. Oh, this was deleted. Why was that deleted? All right. So the AWS said that their service never went down. What did I? Oh, here we go. So this was the service outage for here. So you can see here, and this is what they wrote up. They actually wrote up less than Cloudflare did, and they were more impacted. So you can see Google Clouds. Google Cloud hasn't released why they went down yet. So we are waiting on that. So let's finish this. We're deeply sorry for the outage. It's our failure on our part, and while the approximate cause or trigger for this outage was a third-party vendor failure, we're ultimately responsible for our chosen dependency and how we chose to architect around them. This is the big thing that everybody should be talking about. This is absolutely true. When you design your application, you can design it to run on GCP, Azure, AWS. You can design it to run on all three of them. You can be in this little corner right here and design them to be on all three of them. You could say to provide maximum whatever we're doing, you got to put a data center on the moon. So you could need to put your data center here on the moon. This is the moon. The moon. I can't spell moon, apparently. And so you could have to put your on the moon so that it could survive any one of these going down. Now, obviously, this is a little ridiculous because this would cost an astronomical amount. And that's the decision that you're making every single time that you do this. I'm sure that this is why when people say, oh, make it HA, make it highly available, and it doesn't mean a whole lot, because what are you actually trying to survive? A better question is, or a better statement is, I want to be able to survive a region outage. I want to be able to survive a zone outage. I want to be able to survive a provider outage. Those are better statements other than highly available. Highly available is super specific and doesn't actually mean a whole lot. How highly available do you want your application? And when you design your application with your PMs, your product, the company, you have to make the decision of how highly available. The cost looks like this. This is the cost of building a highly available application. You have the dollar amount here. That is not a very straight line. Let me do this one more time really quickly. I should have been holding a button. That's also not the straightest of lines that I wanted. I thought if I held, wait. Wait. Can I not draw a straight line? I can't. Okay. So this is your cost. So let's put a little dollar sign up here. That's your cost. And this is on this side over here, we have how HA you are. And we'll put a few single machine, region, cloud provider, actually, we'll move this. I don't know why I moved the tick mark. All right, so this is kind of the legend here. Single machine. Let's see, single machine, single region. Let's see, single region. Let's see, single cloud provider. And then you could basically be like all the cloud providers. And basically the cost for doing this right here is really, really easy, much more difficult. Surviving just a single cloud provider, being multi-cloud, is astronomically expensive. So this is supporting the same application, just making it so that you can survive any one of these. It just gets, that's not exactly how I meant that graphic go. It just gets astronomical. It gets really, really, really expensive. And the cloud providers don't even do this. Azure can't survive an Azure cloud provider outage. They just can't do it. It's Google's about the only person that can do it. So when you're building your application, you're actually asking yourself, what the level, how much do you need to spend to survive any one of these things? It's actually a really important question. If you want to say that you should be able to survive your auth provider going down, you have to have a backup auth provider going, whether that's a backup from your own or for you. If you want to be able to access your infrastructure while your whoever provides your company's authentication goes down, if you want to say that your data layer can go down and you want to be able to survive that, you've got to have a hot backup ready with a way to fail over. So that means you also need to be able to detect as soon as it goes down so that you can fail over. So this is all about how much engineering work you want to go into it. And that is what they did. They said, hey, look, GCP is easy. We're going to leverage GCP and build all of this critical infrastructure on top of it. We all make that decision, and that's what they did. What the really big thing here is, they didn't say GCP went down. That's it. They could have been like, GCP's down. What do you expect out of us? Well, a lot of us expect our cloud providers to not worry about other cloud providers. None of us expected, and this is why this is a big deal, none of us expected Cloudflare to have a problem because GCP was having a problem. Nobody would expect Azure to have an issue if GCP went down. Nobody would expect AWS to have a problem if GCP went down, right? So that was the big deal, is Cloudflare has positioned itself as a cloud provider. Originally, they really just positioned themselves as a way to handle, if you were getting DDoSed, they would save you from getting DDoS. So if you went over to their website and your website was here and it was currently getting DDoSed by just a ton of people, you could go to Cloudflare's website and they had a button that said under attack ? And you could literally put Cloudflare in front of them and handle the DDoS. That's like what their bread and butter. At this point in their life, I don't think people would have expected them to not have a dependency on a cloud. They weren't really positioning themselves as a cloud. But if you look at all of the services that they listed here, Workers, KV, Images, Stream, Workers AI, Turnstile, these possibly. But if you're looking at like their R2 data storage and all of those types of things, they obviously are positioning themselves as a cloud. So you would not expect them to have a dependency on another cloud. But it's a decision they made. It probably saved them time and money to make that decision, assuming that Google could actually keep their storage online. And they went with it. And that's awesome. This was not a result of an attack or other security event. No data has been lost as a result of the incident. Cloudflare Magic Transit and Magic WAN, DNS, Cache, Proxy, WAF, and related services were not directly impacted by this incident. This right here means that it didn't use KV service. That's all it means. As a rule, Cloudflare designs and builds our services on our own platform building blocks, and as such, many of Cloudflare products are built to rely on Workers KV service. The following table details the impacted services, including the user-facing impacted operation failures and increases in error rates observed. So all of these things went down. We can go over them. There's other people that covered this better. What I really wanted to talk about was just how they handled it. They took full responsibility. Why? Because they designed it that way. It was their fault that they went down. People would expect them to not go down in the case of a GCP failure. But I also wanted to point out that this was fine and good. Like, people do this. It's okay. But when it happens, you can't just say, it's not our fault, it's Google's. Well, you picked Google, you engineered it to work with Google services, and you made the decision not to leverage AWS. So it is your fault in the end. That's just how it is. You engineered it in such a way where it would fail if GCP was down. This is a clear engineering design and a decision. It's a business decision, really, but it's a clear business decision because guess what? It's not really feasible for a lot of small teams to survive a failure of any one cloud. But it is a decision and you got to own it. When it happens, you own it. It's okay to say, oh yeah, it was caused by a underlying third-party failure. People are going to understand. Cloudflare, it's a bigger deal because, well, while that's true, they probably shouldn't have that dependency. You don't expect them to have that dependency on a third party. So anyways, I thought it was really cool. I thought that they handled it really well. Their write-up was really good as it was. And that was written the same day. They said that they're going to follow up later. So I hope I will be watching for that. If it's worth going over, we'll go over that. But they did a then walkthrough. So a background Worker KV was called a coreless service, which means it should have no single point of failure as the service runs independent of each location. This is a cool thing to achieve. It's very difficult to actually achieve. However, Workers KV today relies on a central data store to provide the source of truth for data. This is actually really interesting to me. The fact that they use GCP to build Workers KV. Like this is interesting. Another interesting thing that they say here is Worker KV removed a storage provider as we work to re-architect KV's backend, including migrating it to Cloudflare R2. I guess this means that Cloudflare R2 doesn't use Worker KV, because if it did, that would have a circular dependency, and that would work very well. So my guess is that Cloudflare R2, their really cheap block cloud storage, doesn't use Worker KV, or the reason, and this is maybe my guess, is the reason that they don't use Cloudflare R2 is because it uses Worker KV. And maybe the thing that they're doing is getting Cloudflare R2 to not use Worker KV so that it's not a circular dependency. You could technically have these two services have a circular dependency. Like that's actually possible. One of the ways that we've done this in the past is with Kubernetes. This didn't turn out to work very well, but it was Kubernetes in Kubernetes. And basically, you would have the Kubernetes control plane, so all the things that are part of the Kubernetes control plane hosted in Kubernetes. So if this was Kubernetes, it would actually be hosted in Kubernetes. And these would be nodes, just regular nodes. Now, we kind of do a hybrid of this with KubeADM right now, but basically all of the control plane nodes would be run in Kubernetes, but they're the thing that builds Kubernetes, right? This is what the control plane nodes are, Kubernetes, right? So it's basically running itself. Now, the problem with this is failure becomes really painful, because if the control plane fails, it doesn't recover without human intervention, because the control plane is down, but there's nothing to run the control plane in because the control plane is the thing that runs itself. And so you have this thing that when it falls flat on its face and it hurts. So you can actually do this basically where these two things depend on each other. The failure mode for that, I would just warn Cloudflare, learn from my mistakes, learn from others' mistakes. Generally, it's a bit painful. Now, Kubernetes, to get around this, does their static pods, which kind of do the same thing, but it's not really the same thing. It's not actually, it runs in Kubernetes, but it's not actually running in Kubernetes. It's using static pod manifests, which just get run. It's a little bit different. This was really cool that they shared all of the impact data here. Obviously, they have a detailed timeline of when they were doing stuff and in-flight activities. Like I said, they are going to do a follow-up. At least that's what they said. I will be watching for it. What do you think? What do you think the biggest takeaway is? Do you architect your applications to survive a single cloud? It's difficult, isn't it? Anyways. That's it. That's it for this, at least. Now, I'm not very good at these. I'm going to have to work at this. I'm going to have to work at this a little bit. My whole point was they took ownership for their design, which was awesome. I think they deserve kudos for that, and I think we should learn from that. Too often as engineers, we want to say AWS is down, and maybe that's all we can do at the time. Maybe at that point, yeah, all we can do is AWS is down. We're sorry. But at the end of the day, our businesses chose to be solely using AWS. That was a business decision. Cool. All right. Let's talk about maybe possibly the worst UI. That's actually not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Apple. Let me put a marker. All right, so I'm going to try to give Apple credit where credit is due. But because that hurts me inside, I have to first make fun of them. The first thing that I have to point out, this is unreadable. As a dyslexic, as a person who can't speak English, as a dyslexic person, this is unreadable. I don't know what's going on. There's so much stuff. I don't know what's foreground, what's background. It's not blurred enough. It's not good looking. This is a terrible, terrible UI. They spent millions of dollars, probably $1 billion, destroying their UI. They spent like so much money destroying their UI that people have written up guides on how to make it reasonable. Even then, it still looks stupid. Like I would say without this background, it just looks dumb then. So like, but it's readable. This is readable. So people are already making guides. You know you screwed up when people are already making guides of how to make the UI usable. That's what they're doing. But it just then looks dumb. Like the shimmery border, legit. Anyways, I had to call them out before giving them some praise. Now, I'm very familiar with the concept of confirmation bias. If you don't know what confirmation bias is, it's just when we look for things that agree with us. This is what happens in Twitter or Blue Sky. Blue Sky probably worse because there's a very specific group of people that go there to look for people to agree with them. So this is what happens on those platforms a lot, and you have to really be careful about it because it can feel good to have people agree with you. But what happens is that we're all humans and we're all wrong about something. I know, it's a hard pill to swallow, but you're wrong about something, I'm wrong about something, and you've got to be if you want to grow up, there's actually a lot of things you're wrong about. There's a lot of things I'm wrong about. And as we grow, we have to learn about those things. It's a continual thing. And there's a point in your life, it's like in your 30s where you're like, dude, I've grown up so much. I must know everything. And it can be very easy to slip into that. So, this is confirmation bias. You're looking for people that agree with you. And so I want to be careful because while the releasing of this paper, The Illusion of Thinking, Understanding the Strengths and Limitations of Reasoning Models via the Lens of Problem Complexity, aligns up with everything that I've been seeing with all of the testing that we've done with these AIs. And it could be very, very easy for me to read this article and basically like it for its confirmation bias. I wanted to go over it anyhow, talk to you about my own confirmation bias, and talk to you why I thought this research paper was actually really well done, even in light of possibly confirmation bias. Okay, so The Illusion of Thinking, Understanding the Strengths and Limitations of Reasoning Models via the Lens of Problem Complexity. This was something I don't get paid to do research. I would love to get paid to research these things. I don't. But I do a lot of this pseudo research on Twitch. We do the AI games, which we're doing later this year. And we try to understand these things as best as we can in a fun weekend. So it's really cool to see people following up and basically doing a better job of some of the things that I've been doing. And one of the things that in this paper that really stood out to me was their coverage of data contamination. So one of the things that I've felt and we've felt, but we haven't been able to actually talk or we haven't actually been able to prove is the data contamination. If you don't know what data contamination is, it's basically these AIs need massive amounts of data to train. They're pre-trained and they're trained on just massive amounts of data. What happens is because they need so much data, whether it's on purpose, because I'm sure that happens too, or whether it's on accident, because these web scrapers and things scrape a ton of the internet looking for stuff and they can't validate all of it. They train on some of the data that's in the tests. And the reason we've actually, I'm going to say proven, but we didn't actually prove. We can actually just see it. Whenever somebody scores higher in something like the software engineering workbench or one of those types of tests, we've actually seen that higher scores don't actually mean better in use. And in fact, some of them have been much worse in use, even though they scored higher in the software engineering workbench. And the reason for that is data contamination. You're training on what they're going to be tested on. And that's not particularly useful. I can create a program that will answer all the questions right if you give me the questions and answers ahead of time. It's just how it works. It's not that hard. That's actually a really good point, Russell, and I was going to get to that. One criticism of this paper that people have said. Now, this criticism, what doesn't give this criticism validity is they didn't actually go into the data and say, you did this right here. Let me just find something. You did this, and there was a bad assumption in this. They didn't do that. What they did instead was they said, Apple, you were late to the game. I don't believe this research at all, because this was just you saying, because we were late, it must be bad. I actually kind of expected to think that. I have an Apple bias or an anti-bias. I have an Apple anti-bias. I really don't like Apple. And it is why I made fun of the fact that they destroyed their UI, made it unusable, made it garbage before I started talking about this, because I really have an anti-Apple bias. When I went through and read this, I have not read the whole thing. Like, let's be clear. It's 30 pages. It's pretty in depth if you're going to get and understand all of these things. And there's actually a freaking butt ton of references, which if you're really going to get into this, you got to then like go into all of these references too, and understand everything. So no, I haven't understood everything. But if you're talking about the stuff that I did understand, which was in the first 5 to 7 pages, I believe I've gotten to. Yeah. If you're talking about 5 to 7 pages, I did understand it. It was fairly easy to understand, and it, again, confirmation bias, I understand. It has lined up with the things that I have seen, just using LLMs. So the UI is broken, dude. The UI is just dumb. So what did this come up with? Well, one was the data contamination, which is something that we've seen, that we've explored, that we've kind of seen the effects of this data contamination, where we've seen that models that pass higher in benchmarks don't do as well in practice. And they actually had a really interesting thing here that I wanted to point out here, was this right here. Currently, it's not clear whether the performance enhancements observed in the recent RL-based thinking models are attributed to increased exposure to established mathematical benchmark data, to the significantly greater inference compute allocated to thinking tokens, or to reasoning capabilities developed by RL-based training. Recent studies have explored this question with established math benchmarks by comparing the upper bound capabilities of RL-based thinking models with the non-thinking standard LLM counterparts. So basically, the RL-based is the thinking, and the non-thinking is just your standard, 4.0 versus your 3.0. That's kind of the thing that they're saying here. They have shown that under equivalent inference token budgets, non-thinking LLMs can eventually reach performance comparable to thinking models benchmarks like the Math 500. Now, this is something that I have said for a little while. Again, confirmation bias, maybe, but it's a bias that I've come to after leveraging these things a bunch. I don't know how they do the thinking models, but I do know how Cursor does it. Cursor does it by, this is Cursor. And this is your prompt. This is your prompt. And this is other information that it has, whether it's unit tests or whatnot, other info it has. And what it basically does is your prompt gets fed through Cursor, which then gets fed through some model down here. So we have some model. And it gets fed through some model down here. And this response gets here, and here they can query it with this other information and send it back. And then they can say, they get it back, and then they can query it again and say, does this make sense? And they go back and forth and query it more times, just leveraging, itself. with some really basic, simple things. Are the tests passing? Here's the build output. Or here's the build test output. Are there errors in this text? Are the logs good? They can requery with really simple stuff like that. And it's actually really powerful because if those things fail, you basically say this didn't work, try again. And so they said they have shown that under equivalent inference token budget, so the same number of tokens passed to the LLMs, non-thinking LLMs can eventually reach performance comparable to thinking models on benchmarks like the Math 500 and the EMEA 24. We have conducted our comparison analysis of frontier LRMs like Claude 3.7 Sonnet versus Without Thinking and DeepSeek R1 versus V3. Our results show in Figure 2 confirm that on the Math 500 dataset, the passmark performance of thinking models is comparable to their non-thinking counterparts when provided with the same inference token budget. However, we observe that this performance gap widens at the EMEA 24 benchmark and further widens on the EMEA 25. This widening gap presents an interpretive challenge. It could be attributed to either increasing complexity requiring more sophisticated reasoning process, thus revealing genuine advantages of the thinking models for more complex problems, or two, reduced data contamination in newer benchmarks, particularly EMEA 25. Interestingly, this is where it gets really, really interesting. Interestingly, human performance on the EMEA 25 was actually higher than on the EMEA 24, suggesting that EMEA 25 might be less complex. Yet models performed worse on the EMEA 25. So let's put this. Let's draw this out because this was really, 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 really interesting. So we have the humans, and we have the computers. So we have these two here. And computers do better on this one. And humans do better on this one. This isn't necessarily true. So, if people wanted to hate on this paper, this is where I'd like them to say, hey, this actually needs further investigation. Because here, this is maybe an okay assumption, but it's not a perfect assumption. Humans could do better on this because that's how our brains work, or that's how the American society trained us to think. And it's just not, and the EMEA 24, we don't think that way. But it is a math set, so most likely it's just a skill-based issue. So I think it's actually an acceptable way. So I was trying to think if this was an acceptable assumption. I think it's an acceptable assumption. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that it seems to make sense. Without further studying, this seems to be true. And what they're saying is that computers do worse on this, but it's the newer one, which this kind of goes to that data contamination issue. The newer it is, the worse computers do at it because they haven't been trained on this specific problem set, which means computers are actually really bad at solving new problems, the problems that they've never seen before. They're only actually really good at solving problems that they've seen before, whereas humans can take new problems and do them themselves, which again, everything that we know about computers is its statistical analysis. And it's really, really good statistical analysis. So, yet models perform worse on the EMEA 24 than the 25 than the 24, potentially suggesting data contamination during the training of frontier LRMs. Given these non-justified observations and the fact that mathematical benchmarks do not allow for controlled manipulation of problem complexity, we turn to puzzle environments that enable more precise and systematic experimentation. English is so difficult. So difficult for me. So figure 3, illustrations of the 4 puzzle environments. Columns show the progression from initial state, top, through intermediate state, middle, to target state, bottom, for puzzles. You know what I was thinking? It'd be really cool to do some of these in the AI games. I don't know how we'll replicate these exactly, but it would be really cool to try to do these. All right. So, what did you guys think about this paper? Did you guys read it? Did you guys see what they were talking about here? Let's see. I got up to about here. Yeah, I got up to about here. This was, this was actually really interesting. This was how quickly this is, again, could be confirmation bias, but this is something I've seen quite a bit here. I was actually testing this out with Cursor recently. Cursor does fairly well if you can scope down a problem to a really simple bare thing that you know how to solve. Cursor does really if you give it a big, vague thing. My little bit of experimentation here was I told Cursor to build me a front end and back end with some very high requirements, and the back end didn't compile, the front end compiled, but like the CSS wasn't working, and so it was like just a text-based document. Whereas if I did the same thing, and I'm gonna try to work this into the AI games. If I took it and broke it down into different steps, all right, create me a Next.js application. Okay, add Tailwind to it. Okay, add a landing page with a header and a footer. And broke it down into really specific things and even gave it specific files to work in. It did amazingly better. It did so much better doing it that way than it did with this big, vague, if I asked you to make me a dashboard, most people could go do it. I'd get different technologies and that's fine. But most people could go and do it. Whereas it literally just broke down. And that's basically what this was going for, was the more complex it got, the faster it did poorly. So this is like the Tower of Hanoi. I've never actually done this, but like the checker jumping and the blocks, you can see the thinking and the non-thinking models very quickly both just kind of took a nosedive at the complexity. So anyways, it was a cool paper. I liked it. I didn't think it was that bad, and I haven't actually seen people bring up real arguments against what they brought up. That's what I would love. So I would love it if you didn't just say, this is just Apple being late to the game, and that's why they released this paper. I would love for people to come up with real things that they would like them to investigate better, like the data contamination. I think that what they did was an interesting take and decent assumptions about the EMEA 25. But is there a better way to actually test and prove that? I don't know. I've started asking Copilot to write the plan out and work on it, along with the custom instructions to tell it always to build tests, to run tests along with banned packages, and you're seeing better results. Yeah, Russell, that's actually like the really interesting thing that I've seen is the better you are as an engineer, the better the tool is. Like, it's a thing that empowers really good engineers. If you don't know what you're doing, like, it kind of is an opportunity to shoot yourself in the foot. If which is weird because we thought that this would be a thing. You know, if you had asked everybody, like, this was the thing that was supposed to level the playing field. You know, when people talk about it, and this is why I hate it when like CEOs and things talk about this type of stuff, because if you ask them, they would say like it was this. This is a non-software engineer, and this is like a software engineer, and this is like a principal engineer. And it was supposed to level the playing field. Now, you know, the non-software engineer could do the same thing that these people could do. And like it just makes this skill and experience irrelevant. But what it did, or what I'm seeing it, and so like I have data from my own engineers and stuff as well. What I'm seeing is instead of this, what I'm seeing is that the principal software engineers, let's say everything, let's say like their abilities were like this. Oh wait, this all saying, okay, this is like a P5, we'll say this is a P3 and a P1. If this is how they started out their skills and ability, it's probably more dramatic. It's probably more like this. It's probably more like this. So if this is how they started out, what I have seen them do is this. You've made P3s moderately better. Ps 2 and 1 have gotten worse. They don't know what they're doing in the first place, and they don't leverage it well. They make larger PRs with more crap code in them, and basically it just takes more time and effort. P3s and above are moderately, and your P5s can leverage these things. You know, you're truly ingenious people that are going to make sure that, you know, it has custom rules. This is what I've been doing it. You have custom rules that you have to write tests, that the tests have to pass. You have custom rules to like write out a plan and stuff. And whatnot. So like I've actually found that it's made my P5s even more valuable than they were. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing where it's like it's not what you would have expected, which I feel like we've had happen quite a bit where like you have a good idea that sounded good in theory, and then when you do it, it's like, no, it only made the problem worse. It actually only made the problem worse. It's a P.5 at that point. It's truly bad. I'd like to see strategies for guarding the data sets against poisoning. So I don't think you'll see that from people. I haven't seen that from people, and I think that's because it's an unwritten rule that they don't. While it's an unwritten rule that they actually train on at least half of the data set. So like I'm blanking on it. There is a big data set that a lot of people use, but they also use it to test. And they always just say, well, we only trained on half of it, right? So I think that's actually a pretty common thing. So I don't think that they actually, the data poisoning, I think, is an unwritten thing that people do that. So you're saying that you're seeing AI raising the ladder, making it harder for newbies? Absolutely. I absolutely see a problem in the industry. This has only gotten worse. I don't think AIs, as we have them now, help people learn. So these people are having a harder time going from P1 to a P2. And in the industry, that means that we're only getting more selective knowledge. And as these people can do more, we need fewer of these people, right? And in fact, these people are possibly even just now a burden. They're actually maybe a burden. They always were a burden. To be fair, P1s were always a burden. But they're actually just more of a burden now. Which means that companies, especially in hard financial times, are very unlikely to want to take these on if they have to. The P1s demand a huge salary as they are, and I think that's going to have to change, unfortunately. And yeah, that's like it's a problem that the industry isn't ready to deal with. I'd rather have one P5 than 5 P1s. I'd rather have one P5 than probably 10 P1s. I can back that up with data too. So, yeah. This sounds very similar to the industry's COBOL problem. Yeah. Yes, Russell. You're not wrong. It's like every low code no code oh, can't speak. Take 2 weeks off. I worked all these 2 weeks. So I was running around like a mad person. But you know, what I've seen so far doesn't align with what CEOs that need to raise fundings say. They're not they're there's an impedance mismatch here that that I haven't actually seen. And again, I understand confirmation bias. I understand that I can look at this. This is my opinion. My opinion has been formed over years of leveraging software, my literally years of writing software and years of actually leveraging AIs. This is literally what I'm seeing right here. I think P2s are maybe a wash as to whether they're better or worse. Again, I'm seeing in a lot of data, I'm seeing people that leverage AIs write a lot more code, but also rework more code. So what I consider rework, an interesting stat that I track on my teams is how much code do we write that we then have to change within a month. So if you commit it to a Git repo and change that code, those same lines within the same month, I count that as rework. And that's basically code that wasn't correct the first time. Now, there's other reasons that you could do that. That could be that we have we have PMs that are changing their minds or whatnot, which I tried to actually track as well. We don't actually have a whole lot of that as platform teams. And I actually push back on a lot of that. Don't change your mind within the first month on me. I will go to your boss. But that being said, there's the engineers that highly leverage AIs from previous usage. They have more code committed and more rework. And up to about P3, I can't actually tell if they're doing more or less. P1s and P2s, I can tell, are doing less. P3s, I think that they're more productive, but it's kind of difficult. Now, I am actually seeing out of the top performers, I am seeing huge leaps in their productivity. But again, you're talking about people who already were super productive, were already just the elite engineers that I had. And yeah, I think it's a huge problem in the industry. I do. I agree with that statement. And we could talk about the COBOL problem and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, I have random stuff for the news. Those were like the two topics that I wanted to cover. I'm going to try to get a little bit better about covering those a little bit more in depth. I hope that you guys like that. I hope that you guys like talking about that in depth. I'm not I haven't done that a whole lot, but I'm trying to make some content that is um discoverable on YouTube so I can cut it. So that's what I'm doing. So hopefully that works well for you all. Hopefully you guys like the content, and we'll see. Well, AI can solve the COBOL problem, so we just extended it until the current crop of death hit retirement age. I'm actually worried that we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And I'm actually, I don't have, I'm not one of those, I like to take humility to a lot of things. And I know that's weird for software engineers. And I think that we need a little bit more of it in the industry in general. But like, I don't say this saying that I know the answer. I think that we have a lot of problems in our industry and not a lot of clear solutions. And I'm not saying these things to say that I have the solution either. Another classic problem that we have here, is that like hiring is now worse than it ever was. Our industry always had a hiring problem. And I feel bad for people looking for jobs right now because the amount of AI slop that you get in your when you open a job posting is just staggering. Is just like at this point, I only like to hire via reference. Like, okay, can I find somebody that's worked with this person before? Literally, that's what I'm doing. Can I find anyone that's worked with this person before that I know? Because otherwise, it's really hard to hire the person. And it's going both ways because AI slop is getting thrown at recruiters. Recruiters are throwing AI slop at the people. So now you're getting interviewed before you even get to a recruiter. You're getting interviewed by an AI recruiter that whether it hallucinates and does random stupid stuff, which I've actually tested these out on stream, they're not great. And I would not trust them with like actually interviewing a person. Because I actually thought that maybe this was like one cool thing that AIs could do is like just filter down the 1,000 people to 20 awesome people, but I don't actually think they do that. I actually think going on LinkedIn and finding people that have worked with people that you know is maybe the best way to go about hiring at this point, which is terrible. I don't know that many people. Nobody's going to hire me. Like I tend to work at jobs a long time and I tend to work with just, a few people. So I'm screwed with this new way of doing it. But I think that that's probably the best way to do it at this point. Unfortunately. Well, yeah, right, Russell. What do you do? Like this just makes the whole situation worse. Like I have complained in the past that the situation was bad, and now it's just getting worse. And I'm not sitting here telling you that I have an answer. Like my answer is like, don't hire anybody that you don't know somebody that knows, which is not an answer. Like to be clear, I will never get hired again because of that. Like it's not a good. It's bad. It's very bad. I've said it in Twitch comments now. It's legally binding. All right, we have 5 minutes till ads. I wanted to bring up something that I thought was um something that we need to talk about. I also don't have the answer to this. I could tell you what I think we should do, but that would probably be wrong. Probably. We have ads in 5 minutes. I'll get up and stretch just a little bit. I need like 1 minute to go get some water. And then yeah, we'll talk about Yandex and Meta. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about what they're doing, and then we have some open source stuff to cover. It's going to be a shotgun style. Some cool projects were released. Some interesting things were released, and we're going to talk about those just really quickly, shotgun style. Like I said, I am going to take all of these and I'm going to post them on YouTube. So hopefully this is a little bit more discoverable. Hopefully you guys are liking it. It's going to take me a little while to find my flow in doing this. I want to cover them a little bit more in depth, but I don't want to just ramble like I'm doing right now. I know I'm filling time. I got 3 more minutes before that ad starts. I don't want to just ramble. I want to actually make it valuable information and content for you guys. I did look stuff up and try to investigate some stuff for you. So hopefully I'm able to do that really well for you guys and break them down a little bit. It will take me a little bit of time to get my groove with how we're doing this. So, these first ones, bear with me as I try to do this. Try to make a little bit more discoverable stuff that's out there. And give me your feedback. Give me your feedback after I do a few of them. I know these first ones are going to be a little bit rough, just a little bit. So we'll make them better as we go. No reason to bombard me with how badly I did them the first time. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna go get my drink. I'm gonna get those 3 minutes ad playing. I'll be back way before that happens. And see you guys in a second. I made some lemon water before stream. It just looks like dirty water. No sugar. I'm trying not to drink sugar. That's my thing. Try not to drink sugar. So it's better than just water. I wish I liked water better. Russell, thank you. I truly mean it. You're here. I'm talking with you because everybody else is in ads. So I'm telling you about my slightly lemon water. It's really not too bad, honestly. $2,000 Space Oddity. I built it. I build everything. I have a problem. I like to build stuff, which means I end up spending more money than if I had just bought the things. And yeah, it's actually a sound panel. Apparently helps with weight loss. I am trying to lose a little bit of weight. I've the last 2 years, I've just had a lot going on the last 2 years. Haven't been standing as much, although I've been doing better. So we moved, and I've actually been doing quite a bit more on the physical activity side, which is good. Probably more important than actually losing weight. It's just getting outside, touching grass. I know you guys wouldn't understand. It's okay. I didn't understand until about 6 months ago. But it's something that I've been trying to do a little bit more. I'm also working on my office, so hopefully I'll be out of this room by the end of the year. That's my goal. But we'll see. It's one of those blocks from Minecraft. I know people keep asking me how I touch stuff in Minecraft. They're wondering if I have like a new secret VR that allows you to touch stuff in the VR, but it's actually something that exists in the real world. It's like carpet. It's kind of like carpet. It's a little more itchy than carpet, and there's these things called bugs in it as well. There might be bugs in your carpet. You know, I don't really know, but now that I said that, maybe it's a lot like your carpet, but it's not like my carpet. All right. Let's talk about Meta Yandex. So this is something that's been I've wanted to talk about because we need to talk about it as an industry. A lot of stuff that's provided to us is provided to us by advertising. If you like to use Google to search for stuff, you know, let's do that right now. Let's search for something on Google. What should we search for on Google? Best keyboards. All right. So if we search for something on Google like this, a lot of these things, like you can see here, are sponsored. That means these are for sale by somebody to sell it to us. If you look here, this is another advertisement. This is another advertisement. So on the full first page and some, all of this is advertised. And it's advertised, and the better ads that you get are targeted. So there's always some amount of trying to track, whether it's your IP address or geolocation data or data that they harvest from a website that's going to send them data to advertise better. This is what these companies do, and a lot of stuff is provided for free based off of that. Now, I don't know what your opinion on advertising is. I actually would prefer to pay for a Google search to use it without ads. My feeling and understanding is that they make so much from that that they absolutely would not have you pay to use it. They're just, what are you going to pay $50 to use? I don't know how much they make per person using Google, but it's a lot. So it's also nice. There's a lot of things that you get for free because they advertise to you. I'm not going to open this up right here, but you could open up Gmail, and if you're not paying for it, guess what? They're paying for that email by advertising to you in your Gmail client. So there's a lot of stuff that's paid for. But where's the line? What is too much tracking? How much is too much tracking? And sometimes that line's crossed. Now, I don't want to draw a line right here. I'm not here to draw a line. I'm here to raise awareness. A lot of times we talk about Google. A lot of times we talk about these people that do a lot to track you and advertise directly to you. You're going on a trip. All of a sudden, you search for flights to Miami, and all of a sudden, Google is advertising resorts in Miami to you. It's pretty amazing. But let's talk about covert web to app tracking via localhost on Android. Now, something to note here, this was very much about on Android, but the researchers that did this, actually, we can turn this off so their thing, local mess. Local mess said that this would probably be viable on iOS devices as well, but it wasn't tested on iOS devices at this time. Now, your browser does a lot to avoid certain things. Your browser, a lot of times there's this lock, step, and dance of what's acceptable and what the browsers allow you to track. So browsers say that there's only a certain amount of things that you're allowed to track, and that's fine. And so websites try to track that type of stuff. Now, what happens? Okay, now I kind of. The answer is no. If you search worst keyboards, people don't want to advertise on that. If you'd like to get ad-free viewing, there's a new hack going out there. You can leverage these platforms for free by searching for stuff people don't want and people don't actually want to. So just add worst on front of it. And now, while you'll only find the worst keyboards of all time, you're not getting advertised to. Now, what's happening is an abuse of an awesome system. Now, I bring this up. I know that as of June 3rd, Metapixel has stopped doing it, and it looks like Yandex has also stopped the practice that is described in this. The thing is, it doesn't mean people can't continue to do this because it's using a native thing in Android. And the same system works in iOS. And the system that they're using is, you know how when you click on a website, and you're scrolling through and you click on something and it opens it up in app? Well, there's methods to do that. And basically, what they're doing is having their apps listen on ports and getting data from your browsing history into the apps. So basically, they're turning their Facebook and Instagram apps, Yandex Search, Maps, Navigator, whatever Yandex does, they're turning those apps into surveillance platforms that are monitoring everything you're doing on your site. And so I bring this up because, yeah, let me give you guys this. Because it's a big deal. It's something we need to be talking about. People are crossing the line, and It's not just the browsers we have to think about anymore. The browsers are so interconnected with everything else we do on our phones, on our computers. People are finding ways to get across that. Now, while Meta, it's Metapixel, while Metapixel and Yandex stopped this practice because they were caught, how many else do we not know about? I don't know. I don't know. That's the question. I wanted to bring it up. I don't have an answer. It's kind of gotten out of control. Advertising has, like I said. I'm at a spot in my life. I'd prefer not to have the free thing, and I would prefer to not be advertised to. Which I appreciate that I'm at that place, and I also appreciate that people have access to stuff where they're just selling their data. Do understand it's not free. You're selling your data, and most likely if you're selling your data, you're actually spending money to have that because you're getting advertised to, which means you're spending money that you've worked hard to get, and you're spending it in other places. I know everybody thinks that they're the one that advertising doesn't work on. Everyone thinks that. We've been advertising to you for hundreds of years. And one thing I can say is it must work because people pay so much money for advertising. So it works. Don't think that you're the anomaly. I know I'm the anomaly, but I'm one of the few. You're not, okay? Be careful. Be careful. Let's talk a little bit about open source. We got some open source to talk about. I say open source. Let's talk about just some random stuff that's out there. I don't have a whole lot of stuff prepared for it. These were interesting things I found interesting. You might find interesting. If you don't find interesting, don't let me know. All right, let's talk about them really quickly. The Linux Foundation has come to the rescue of the entire... so who here has followed... should we talk about this? Yeah, we do. So if you've been here, we followed the WordPress press, the WordPress news, the WordPress conundrum. What's happening with WordPress? Well, the Linux Foundation has decided to step in with a little cheekily named package manager. The Linux Foundation announces the FAIR Package Manager project for open source content management system stability. Now, they worded this. They didn't say for WordPress stability. They said for open source content management system stability. And what they mean is the open source, the WordPress community has been in turmoil for months, thanks to the founders of WordPress and the people that use and leverage it. Supposedly, the FAIR Package Manager project promotes innovation and protects business continually. The FAIR Package Manager project paves the way for stability and growth of open source content management, giving contributors and businesses additional options governed by a neutral community. So basically, the Linux Foundation has decided that they need to step in and solve this problem. This is actually kind of sad, if I had to state it, for the WordPress community. The fact that Linux has to step in and the Linux Foundation has to come in because your crap is such a mess and businesses and individuals are suffering because you can't get your crap together as a community. It says more about your community than anything the Linux Foundation is going to do. I never loved WordPress because I'm just not a PHP person, but it doesn't matter about the technology or whether you liked it. This says so much about your community that I could never say. And do you know what? I really don't believe it's about the community. I think there's a lot of people in the WordPress community, I've spoken to some of them, that are heartbroken themselves about what's going on there. This is about the leaders of the community infighting. And that's even more sad because you're hurting the individual contributors, the people that poured countless hours of their lives into learning, understanding, promoting, and developing this community. So think about that. If you're a leader of the WordPress community, think about what you've done to everybody else's. Step back, stop thinking about what you've done for the community. Think about what the community has done and think about what you're doing to the community. The fact that this exists, that's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. I'm sorry. That just dove off a little bit. Let's get into a little bit more fun news. Who wants to poke fun? Okay. I had this before what happened. You know what? We're not going to cover it. We're not going to cover it. Moving on. I'm not poking fun about that. Let's poke fun about builder.ai. Now, there is a builder.io, which is completely different, which has had to come out and say, we're not builder.ai. But if you want to talk about one of the recent scandals, a $1.5 billion valuation company is now in collapse due to the fact that its AI was actually 700 engineers. I have to say that I was actually slightly impressed by this. The fact that there's mega chat engineers that can respond to prompting like an AI, I'm actually impressed. I'm actually super impressed. Those 700 engineers have earned my full respect. Full respect. Those engineers worked overtime. Like, they burned through mechanical keyboards as they typed. I am actually very impressed. It's impressive that they pulled off this level of a scam. So yeah, kudos. Kudos. All right. Oh, I want to talk about this. We're going to move on. I think they're wrong. AI is making one-on-one meetings more relevant than less relevant. I think I'm going to do a thing on this. I'm going to do a response video, but not today, later this week. A response video on why AI is making one-on-one meetings irrelevant. I think they don't understand why you would have a one-on-one meeting, but I'll get on to that a little bit later. One-on-one meetings are super important. You don't have to do them once a week. You can do them once a week. You can do them once every other week. You can do them once a month. But they're super relevant. Hey, pup. Hey, pup. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You coming here? You want to show them? You want to come up here? You want to come up here? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Good girl. Good girl. Oh, you biting me again. You're biting me again. Oh. Oh, not my feet. Not my feet. Don't bite me. Nope. She bites my ankles. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate the ankles. I mean, I appreciate my ankles. You don't appreciate them. All right. Sorry for the interruption. She randomly gets excited and then comes and bites my ankles. All right, Duck Lake. I don't have a response for this yet. I don't know enough about this. I know that Duck Lake is, well, it's the luck of Dake. A lake of ducks. That came out a little wrong. Anyways, Duck Lake is an open lakehouse format that was built on SQL and Parquet. If you don't know what Parquet, I like this. You should go check it out. But Duck Lake stores metadata in a catalog database and stores data in Parquet files. The Duck Lake extension allows DuckDB to directly read and write data from the Duck Lake. So this is interesting. Duck Lake is interesting. It is a new take on Duck Lakes. It is a new take on data lakes and the like house format. It makes some things that like your iceberg and things like that. It makes some assumptions that are different than the standard ones that are out there. And so it's very interesting. I actually think that this could be really big. Like it could actually bring some really big changes, but I don't know at this point. I haven't gotten the chance to fully explore it really. So yeah, it's just interesting. It's interesting. If you're into data lakes, you might be interested in it. So go check it out. I'll drop a link. How's everyone doing today? Boy X. Codes? I'm going to call you Codes. I don't know how you want to pronounce your first portion. Suash? 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 I don't know. You tell me how badly I mispronounced it. Dude, it's not even hot here. I need to make changes. My temporary office is in the upstairs. I'm used to it being in the basement, and these computers are making my room awfully hot. I get this one little vent over here. This ain't working for me. By December, I'm hoping to get my office built in the basement. Because you all know I like the gulag. I like the gulag a little bit. All right, introducing Gateway API Inference Extension. It took LLMs to get long-term connections supported. Modern generative AI and large language model services create unique traffic routing challenges on Kubernetes. Unlike typical short-lived, stateless web apps, LLM interface inference sessions are often long-running, resource-intensive, and partially stateful. So you know what? I'm a little upset. Because I had this problem in 2016 and it sucked and nobody cared. Everybody told me I was doing Kubernetes wrong. So I want to tell these people, you're doing Kubernetes wrong if you're running partially stateful, resource-intensive, long-running applications or sessions in Kubernetes. Please, you're doing Kubernetes wrong. That's what I was told in 2016. Now, mind you, I wasn't doing LLMs or anything like that. I was doing, actually, all of this holds true. Long-running, resource-intensive, partially stateful workloads. Okay, so traditional load balancers focused on HTTP path or round robin, lack of a specialized capability needed for these workloads. They also don't account for model integrity or request criticality. Interactive chats versus batch jobs. Organization awfully patched together ad hoc solutions, but a standardized approach is missing. I'm actually really excited about this because I actually think that while the focus here is on LLMs, that this actually has a broader impact on the community. Like I said, I had this problem without LLMs. What was my problem? I actually wrote this. I wrote the firmware and the software for these devices that power kitchens across the world. And what happened was we needed a way to update these and manage them from a central location. So there was actually these resource intensive and partially stateful things that were long running, and I had to do punch a hole through Kubernetes and do it kind of stupidly. So I think that this has a bigger impact for all you than just Gen AI, but so Yushi, I'm super. One of my core things is mispronouncing people's names. You should ask Boy X. I don't know why icy boxy was the reason what I wanted to say and think I said so many times. Yeah, I don't get that one. That was bad, but it's kind of my thing. It's kind of my thing. Butchering your name is kind of you're on Twitch. And literally everybody that joins chat has like some name that they had from middle school that they did like, and you're just like, oh, how am I supposed to pronounce that? They didn't even know how to pronounce it themselves. Just say Sue is fine. Sue or So? I'm going with Sue. I'm gonna call you Sue. Welcome, Sue. All right. 100,000 stars on GitHub. Thank you, amazing open source community. I wanted to call this out and also talk about it because we've used one of their competitors, and we might have to try. Diffie out. So, anyways, this was a really cool thank you. So, Diffie is a open source project that we're going to talk a little bit more about. But if you've opened up an open source project and there's a lot of people from the community, not from your company, so Diffie is a company, but they open sourced it 2 years ago. Anyways, they actually said thank you to major outside contributors who made a difference. Not only did they say thank you to the contributors, but they wrote what they brought to it. Bridge Diffie with a new LLM model, backends, and updated CLI tooling. Thank you for opening new doors to how Diffie can be used and explored. Enrich the plugin ecosystem, enhanced front-end experience. Thank you for making Diffie more capable and extensible. I absolutely love it. Like, if I had to say something, Diffie, you did a good job. This took time to go through and see what these people did. You didn't just say thank you and here's a list. You went through and said, hey, has strengthened Diffie deployment flexibility and plugin security by refining proxy support, enabling user-defined signing keys, and keeping platform compatibility up to date. Thank you for making. Like, Diffie, you earn my respect here. You earn my respect. Keep it up. Keep it up. I was thrilled by this. Super cool. So what is Diffie? Why should you care? Diffie is kind of like what is it called? LangChain. LangChain. So I think one of the things that I'm going to do, so I've been working on my educational content that I make for YouTube. I'm revamping how I do it a little bit. We have the database, we have Rust, and one of these things that I'm going to do is helping people understand agents. And we're going to do like agents the hardest way. And we're going to kind of build our own Diffie AI, our own agent. But we're going to go through like the steps of what you need to do RAG and agent and whatnot. So it's going to be cool in that regard because we're going to get to like understand it better because I want to understand it better myself, how these people do this type of stuff. But that's what it does. We're going to have to give it a shot. We're going to give it a check and see how well and how easy Diffie is to use compared to something like LangChain. I know we've had some problems when we built our agents with LangChain. Documentation has been rough. So Thanks to you, people know me and call me with the attack. I'm sorry, Boy X. Oh, I apologize. All right, GitHub Enterprise Server 3.7 is out and now generally available. I don't know that many people actually use GitHub Enterprise Server and run the servers themselves. I know a few do, but I don't think it's pretty standard. And the last thing here was Cursor released. Cursor 1.0 was released. So if 1.0 is here, if you're looking for yeah, it's out. Not I don't know if you guys want to go into it. The biggest thing is like the background agent. I haven't actually been able to get the background agent to work well for me. So I don't know. It's whatever. The Jupyter Notebooks support is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, so it's out. All right. That was the news. That was it. I'll get that stuff clipped out. We'll make some YouTube videos about it. And now we can get into some coding. Like I said, I'm gonna hopefully get better with how we do this content going forward. Probably a little bit rougher at the start here. My goal is to make it a little bit more discoverable. And yeah, so hopefully you guys like it. If not, let me know. Is it AI generated? I am not AI generated. I am not allowed to tell you about I couldn't word it as an AI. I'm sorry. I'm too not an AI. I'm too not an AI. Oh, the thank you message from Diffie? I don't know. I don't know if the thank you message from Diffie was AI generated. There definitely could have like used an AI over the commits to like pull out things. Possibly. I still wouldn't be upset. Oh, it's just Merrick interacting with an Indian name. You should ask. I have some colleagues from India, and I work very hard to learn to pronounce their names. I actually don't like American names. You know, if that's your name, I'm gonna learn to pronounce it. But I am never going to learn to pronounce it from just reading it. I apologize. That's on me. It's a skill issue. I get it. It's a skill issue. It's never going to happen though. It's just never going to happen. But I do work very hard to learn to pronounce their names. I have a lot of projects to work on, basically a lot of ideas. The problem with me is I don't know how to move forward with them, like the steps of doing it. What do you mean by that? I'm not sure what you mean. We got to get Twitch alerts working again. So one thing that I'm doing is I haven't been programming as much as I need to. I actually have a lot of stuff to actually just pump out, and I haven't been able to get the AIs to pump it out for me. So I'm gonna be one of the things that I'm going to be doing. I did make a post about this. I'm going to be streaming Wednesday and Friday mornings now too. I've been trying to wake up earlier and have some time before work. So I'm the Wednesday and Fridays, we're gonna see. But my goal is to be programming some on Wednesdays and Fridays. It's also will let me, if there's some breaking news thing that we need to cover, it'll allow me to cover it then too. So that's the plan. I have some stuff for my YouTube videos. Like I said, I'm still working on final details. I think it's actually going to be a pretty big change for my YouTube. I've put a lot of work into a lot of that stuff, and I'm going to have a little bit more fun moving forward. It's too much work. I have too much work to not have fun, so I'm going to make all of it a little bit more fun. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Oh, yes. This. It's been 2 weeks. No, I try to pronounce Sue. I'll try to remember Sue. This isn't gonna work. I'll try to pronounce Sue. Like, suppose we have to build a UI screen. How the thing is, I know, okay, first I have to create a different components, and then I might have to use props or something as store, etc. But for other projects that I don't know to get ahead. Okay, so I think, and I'm gonna respond to what I think you're asking. Is you don't know what you don't know. And what I mean by that is something you haven't done before. You don't know even where to start or where to plan. And this is true for just about everybody. I'll tell you in just a second as soon as I type this, because I cannot type and talk at the same time. It's literally impossible for me. All right, so when you're getting into something that you don't know, there's kind of two ways of going about it. I do both because I find value in both. The first is a golden path. You find somebody that's done something similar to what you want, that has made a tutorial, and you do that. I almost never do the golden path. What I do is I follow their thing, but do it my way. I tweak it to the thing that I'm doing, because obviously I'm not doing exactly what they're doing. I'm building some sort of project, and whatnot. So if you're getting into a new technology, like let's say you're doing iOS instead of a web component, and you're getting into how iOS does UI, you follow somebody that has done an iOS UI or a Android UI, and all of their fragments and whatnot, and you learn a little bit just doing that, a little bit of how it's structured and whatnot. The next way that I do it, and this is a little bit more chaotic, is just do a thing. So whenever I'm learning, and I actually love this, is you could get bogged down in the right way of doing it, and you're going to do a lot of wrong ways of doing this. So like, we trained an AI. I can tell you we made a lot of mistakes on training that AI when we did the fine tuning. We made a lot of mistakes doing it. but we learned a lot of things while doing it. So we fine-tuned an AI, we ragged an AI, we've done several things on stream, and I made a lot of mistakes, and my stuff is by far not perfect. But just doing it let me know those things. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and you'll never learn it without actually trying it. A lot of the times when a senior engineer says, I wouldn't do it that way, it's because they've done it that way in the past and they've strapped a foot gun to their leg. So the reason, and that's at least the way that I've learned a lot of these things, is just fiddling with them, just doing them, and just, shooting myself in the foot and being like, oh yeah, that sucks. Why does that suck? I can tell you. An easy one is, why do you not have 12,000 lines of code in a single file? I can go on at length as why you don't have 12,000 lines of code in a single file. Now, that being said, you're like, 12,000 lines, that's seems kind of specific. Yeah, it is. I made a single class in C++ that was 12,000 lines of code that did a thing. This is in production probably still today, actually, by the way. That thing is so unmanageable, it's the absolute worst. But I can tell you this, and I can go into it because I know. I did it. I was dented. I don't do it now. So you don't know what you don't know, and sometimes you just have to do a thing before you ever will know. Yeah, it's a skill issue, but it's okay. We all have skill issues. Get your hands dirty. And you know what? Like, maybe you have this idea. You have this idea up here, and it's in the clouds. It's out of your league. It's out of your league right now. There's so much you don't know down here to get to here that you can't do it. Like, don't. Come up with a small stepping stone idea that's a small chunk, this small chunk right here that you can do. Because one, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to rewrite a lot of it. And you don't want to rewrite a huge project, and you don't want to get a year into a huge project and have to rewrite the whole thing because you just made really bad assumptions on the whole thing. So find some stepping stones that you can, maybe this is a stepping stone. It's part of it, but there's some stuff that's outside of it. Maybe this is a stepping stone here. So your pie in the sky idea is fine. Find some stepping stones, build those projects, be willing to throw them away if they're bad or don't work out. And then you can come back later and do this whole thing. That's what I would do. Get your hands dirty. You don't know what you don't know. It's a skill issue. It's okay that you have a skill issue. I have lots of skill issues. And yeah. Join the rest of us. I specifically do stuff I don't know much about on stream because I'm learning. I also like to promote people that have storied careers and have done stuff and then go and do stuff that they haven't done. Like the thing is, I could go and talk about the things I do know about and make people feel like, oh wow, there's just so much knowledge, so much. Oh, maybe not. I'm not that good actually. But there are a few topics that I could speak in and at least make junior engineers feel like I know something. And the fact of the matter is, it's a very broad, very wide field, and there's so many different things. Let's get into networking. IPv4, I have no idea what a subnet mask is. Okay, that's maybe an exaggeration, but like networking is a very big field with very complicated things in it. So I bring this up and I do these things on stream because I like to show people that you can be a very successful and not know everything. I don't know everything. I know some things about some things, and I know very little about other things. Rust, for example. I'm okay at Rust. I am by far not not an expert in Rust. I'm by far okay at it. I like it. So I use it, but yeah. That's awesome, Monta. Re-implementing something in C++ because you wanted to learn C++ or you wanted to learn how that thing works. This is why when we were talking about Diffie, while when we were talking about this, I said that I wanted to do, when I say like do the thing the hard way, what I mean is like I want to do this, but I want to do it without the framework, right? I want to do it without all of the different frameworks and be like, okay, we want to build an agent and we want to build an agent that has tools and we want to build the ability to use a workflow and these types of things and learn how those things are done. You know, in the future, I don't care if people want to use a RAG engine. I want to know how a RAG engine works because once I know how a RAG engine works, I know how to leverage it and what the pitfalls are. This is why I go on so much about databases is because people don't understand databases well and they don't understand how to leverage them well because they don't know how they work very well. And I think that it's really important to understand how they work so that you can leverage them really well. The same with REST, even like how does REST work? I would say that there's a lot of improvement we could make. We have a lot of bad APIs out there that we could make a whole lot better if we understood how those things worked a little bit better. So, anyways, that's my big thing. Just keep learning. Oh my gosh, Copilot in the just keep learning. That's all we can do. You know, I suck at Vim. I still use it. I try. I'm learning. Started using it about a year ago, but I don't use it that much. This is why I'm gonna be programming on Wednesday and Friday mornings. I where are we? Oh, we were working on the Ratatouille, weren't we? Oh, I remember. I remember. Dude, multi-cursor. I don't know how to do it in Vim. I should. I should know how to do it in Vim. So what we need to do now is we need to make our own. Where's the example? We need to make our own component. So we have like this widget, and we need to make another widget that we can reuse, right? Because we're wanting to put like Twitch chat off to the side. So like we need like a Twitch chat widget. What I'm going to start off with this UI. The first one that we did, we were using a different thing, and I don't like it. That's what I've decided. I don't like it. I tried it. I think it works really well for like form-based entry, but that's not what we're doing. We're kind of building a game. And so I think Ratatouille is going to work better with that. So we're going to use Ratatouille, unfortunately. Okay, so what I want to do Yeah, we gotta make we gotta make we gotta make a new widget. So we gotta restructure this. This was just us testing, playing around a little bit. Let me source this really quickly. Not what I meant to do. This should work. Okay, quit. Okay, so what we really want to do is go rm-rf rat test. We don't need that anymore. And now we're going to open up here. So we're working on the games, we're working on Twitch chat. And this is actually like not the UI portion of it. All right. How do we want to structure this? I'm thinking right now. I guess we're gonna throw it all in here. Yeah, this has the Wordle stuff. And this has the Twitch chat. So this is what's gonna get us messages. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually just going to get Twitch chat messages streaming. And then as soon as we get that multi-threadedness worked out, where we have a UI, we have multiple threads, which is kind of where the other one kind of stumbled and fell on its face. It was going to make me do some weird things to do that, and I didn't want to do that. Once we do that and get into place, then we'll build the game portion out. Okay, so I'm going to put this stuff in. How am I going to structure this? Let me think about this. So I have. We have our source. And we have games here. And in games, I guess there's going to be like common UI elements. Do we put... Do we do something like this? Do we do something like this? This feels weird. Yeah, I think... So what I was thinking was we'd do something like this. Now, the thing that makes this feel weird is some of these would have like Twitch chat on the side. So like they would compose this one into this. I think this is fine. Okay, I think this is fine here. So that means what we really need to do is our view here needs to be copied into... Okay, I see. CP. And what I think. Let's see. Twitch chat. Okay. So, this is let's do we don't need this. Let's see. Unsolved module, can't find module, Twitch chat. Wait. This is called view. It shouldn't be called view. Let's see. We want a file called chatbox.rs. Yeah. And let's see, we'll do a CP. Okay, I think I'm probably doing something wrong here. Let's get a little music going. You you smell circular dependency? I don't think so. I think I've got it laid out in the noggin. Yeah, it might be a circular dependency. We'll find out. I was having that feeling too. That's why I wanted to lay it out. I think we're fine. I've said that before though, so. All right, so we have chat view, chat box. I actually think that we won't make chat box a public mod. We'll see. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so we got those. All right, twitch.rs mod. We were gonna put some music on. Oh, it's on. I just have to turn it up. All right. So chat box. All right, let's see. We gotta update this. I'm going to kind of condense some stuff. We're going to I don't know what data we want in here. We might want something like platform, like whether they're from YouTube or Twitch. We're just doing it with Twitch right now, so this will evolve. Let's see. I guess this should really be chat box, right? All right, so then we have the render. We're going to just delete this stuff. So the text should be something like, what? Thinking's hard. Right? That should be the text. Wait, I screwed something up out of this. That should be the text. And this would be like username message. Yeah. So we have a block, we have some text, we do a paragraph with the text, with this block, which is bordered. We don't want a title, right? Okay, so I think this would give us a block with some text in it, with the username and message, yeah. Cool. Is that all we need for the chat? I think that is. Okay. That was easier than I was thinking it was going to be. So then we go over here, not there. We go over to the chat view. Oh, you know what? We probably don't want a border, do we? We probably don't want a border around each chat, right? Yeah, we probably don't want this actually. Maybe just new? We're just gonna try that. We're gonna try this. And then we'll go here into the view. All right, and so this thing needs to actually have a list of, okay, yeah. Let's do this. This would be Twitch chat widget. We don't want username. That's not useful. What we do need is a messages, and those are going to be, do we just do a vec of Twitch messages? That's not the appropriate, is it? It's these private messages, right? Yeah. Oh, it is a vet. Okay. I don't know what I was getting into. I have no idea. Oh, wrong button. Wrong button. Wrong button. All right. And then this would be the Twitch chat widget. All right. We probably actually want to do we hold the raw data and build the widgets, or do we hold the widgets? So like, do we hold the chat boxes in a vector, or do we hold the data and rebuild those chat boxes each time? I feel like the answer is that we hold the widgets. So like here, instead of this, we would use like why didn't that oh, I know. We have not. No, we did. Oh. I know why. There we go. So now we'll do Twitch chat. I know, YouTube. I'm sorry. Right now it's just Twitch chat. So we'll put a border around this. None of this. Oh, interesting. The paragraph is the thing that gets rendered with the block around it. We need a different container type, right? This might, you know, I want a thing that holds a thing. Ew. This is like just drawing straight on the canvas. I don't want to do that, but thank you. That was not what I wanted to do. I guess this is canvas. I thought I just wanted to see like how they did that, but charts. I want to just see like containers. I didn't know they used flex boxes. This is cool. All right, let's go to the custom widget. I'm not sure this is exactly what we were looking for. So this is for widget for button like we were doing. Why? Why does it have to be so complicated? All right, let's see. Render. This is in the pop-up. Okay. Right, so we're doing this where we're doing this render, but we're doing it with a self area and a buffer. They're getting a frame. Why are their examples with a frame and mine is with a a rectangle and a buffer? And theirs is with a frame. So they're getting the area, right? Frame.area. I'm like doing the for the impl widget. So like you don't have to impl widget. Let's see how they're using app. So they're doing app here. Let's see, Ratatouille run app default dot run terminal. So they're just doing it. So they are running this. I don't know how though. So they're just getting the default, which they derive default, but then they call run on it, but it's not implementing anything that would put run on it, right? Unless if there's something up here that I don't see. Let's see, layout, style. Oh, they just implement run. Okay, one second. Let me look at their terminal.draw. This is where they're doing the terminal.draw. We're not doing this inside the widget. So they're just looking to see if it's returns okay. And if you hit P, it will just turn on the show pop-up. Self.render, which would call this. Okay, so self.render frame. So this is why they're passing in the frame, because this is just here. Okay, I see. So this is why they don't have area. They're calling area. I got it. Oh gosh. That was more difficult for me to understand than it should have been. Is this how people do this though? It's not how I was doing it. I can get a layout is what I wanted. I think this is what I'm looking for. Can I do like this? And then can I render stuff on top of the block? Like down here? So my thought is I render the block, and then because like that's like the area, and then inside of that I see my problem. I'm not inside of that. So now I need to keep an offset if we were going to try to do this, right? Do we do, okay. Do we do 3 layers? I basically want this. This would be the screen. This would be Twitch chat. And these would be the chats inside of it. And this would be Wordle over here. Okay. So if this is the whole Twitch widget, do I need to make a Twitch chat widget? Do I need to make an internal list widget? And so the border is done by this outside one, and the inside one is just a list widget. Let me see these examples for lists. Scroll bar demo should have scrolling stuff, which should mean like there's a list, some sort of list thing. All right, so this is just the loop for checking the things and drawing the terminal. Scroll down, scroll up, scroll left, scroll right. I just want to see how we render it. So they're just making a vector of lines. So they're creating a create block with a gray border, and whatever's passed in as the title is okay. Block new, title alignment, alignment center. So this is just like the above, like the how to use it above it, render widget. So they're gonna just render this block. What's this chunks? What's in render widget? It's buff. Oh wait. Render widget. That's not what I'm calling, is it? I'm calling render. Not render widget. I'm in a widget. This is not in a widget, right? Yeah, so this is rendering a widget. Okay, render stateful widget. So is a widget inside of a widget a bad idea? I didn't think it was. Maybe it is. Let's just try to hammer this in. This is probably wrong. So this takes a rec and so this is area. Yeah. The problem with this is we don't have a way to like lay out properly. So we need a layout widget, which should be... Let's see, these seem to do it, but they don't do it in a widget, which is weird. Like I was thinking this one here, the flex layouts, seems right to me. Okay, example data, don't care. Struct app state. Struct example, don't care. All right, impl app. So we have the standard run. Oh wait, we don't have the standard. While is running, draw terminal. Yeah, okay, standard run. Handling events. Don't care, don't care. So when you're running and you do terminal.draw, you're doing frame render widget. Wait, where's frame coming from? What is this mythical thing? Oh, this is the frame being passed, sorry, on the terminal.draw. And we're rendering the app. So let's go where we impl on app, impl widget for app. So this is actually doing what we're doing, where we're doing the widget for app. Cool. Fantastic. And okay, so this is where, let's scroll needed. Fantastic. Okay. Finally. Something like we're doing. One day I also hope to be able to understand all of this. One day I too hope to understand all of this. If I did, it would be done. All right, this is what I was looking for. Actually, I'm gonna copy all of this. All right, so we're doing a layout. Why is this all upset? You know what? Probably it needs like imported. Layout, imported. Length, not imported. I will just steal imports now. All the Ratatouille ones. Let's see. Done. All right, self.tabs.render is not working. Why is that? Oh, we don't have tabs. There's a part of this that we haven't made. Okay, that's completely fair. There's a large part of this. But what we're looking at is impl app. Here we go. Handle events. Where's the impl app widget for app? Impl app. Wait. Did we screw this up? Impl widget for app. There we go. Whew. I knew we had seen it. Self.tabs. We don't have tabs, right? That's not an app thing, so this would make sense why we don't have that. And they're just calling render on whatever tabs returns. Cool. School. I do need school. What if we just do if true? So if true, so with saturating sub, I don't know what that means. Oh, this is why I wanted something simpler. This is just too complicated. Self axis. So they did axes down here, right? Let's see, where is that? Impl example, widget for example. So they are doing what we're doing. I was just hoping this was going to be easier than... Where's their axes? Stateful widget. Impl stateful widget for selected tab. So selected tab, axes, impl for axes. A bar like 80 pixels, gap 2. Okay, so impl widget. So this returns something. Axes returns something that implements widget. Only show gap when spacing is 0. Oh, okay. Check this out. Interesting. Let's go to the actual example. That was this one right here. A bar like this. So axes is this right here. Let's step through this. So this is returning something that's a widget. Which makes sense because up here in our widget app, we do axes.render, right? So that makes sense. No, go down. Okay, so let's go back. A bar like, I don't see that at all here. Let's see. I'm guessing it's talking about these here. Like these paragraph. Okay. I don't actually see these axes here. Oh, this right here. It's this right here. Oh, okay, I see. It's this right here. Okay. So self axes. Which is this, which is the width and the spacing. And the render to that calls the axes. Which is created up here. Oh, where is that? Created. So that's just this area, okay? Oh, okay, and this is removing 1. Okay, I get it. If scroll is needed. Okay. Okay. So then we have tabs, axes, and demo. I see. I see. So we render the tabs, then we render the demo, and then we render that. Oh, very interesting. What's rendered demo look like? Okay. Okay. Okay, okay. I'm not going to leverage a scroll bar, so I don't really care about that. We will leverage this though, right? All right. Let's actually just get into some of this. I think this is making sense here. Area. So this is a new, so this is the demo area. Let's see, what else are we doing to demo area here? So we create a buffer in the demo area. How do we get what's visible? So I'm thinking like we're gonna keep adding stuff to it and it will eventually fall off, right? I wish that they had some reusable components. These are like apps. I would like just like some components. I feel like I'm about to create a component that should exist. Like a widget that already exists. Let's open this. I might be about to. There is no bar chart, block, calendar, canvas, chart, gauge, line gauge, list. There we go. Do we not have an example of this? Widget examples. Here we go. But I want to see them. I want to. That's not that helpful. Widgets, come on. Where's my widgets? Examples. Widgets. This is what I wanted. Okay, so list is what I want. I was going to say, I thought this felt like something I was recreating. Hey, what you doing in here? What are you doing in here? Yeah. Oh, what? You good girl. You good girl. Oh, they just can't see you. They just can't see you. You gonna come here? You gonna come up here? Oh, you're just gonna lay down there. Okay. You good girl. Yeah, you are. You a good girl. Watch out. I don't want to hit your paws. No paw pinching. No paw pinching. Sorry. Every once in a while the puppies need a pet. Alright. Alright, let's see. Render the UI with various components. Wait, where's the list? Render list. Whoa, why is this a... Alright. Ooh. 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 Okay, so they have a list thing. This is actually not bad. This is not bad. I like this. Let's see. Please import list. Import stateful widget. Render stateful widget. Where did that come from? Let's see. Okay, it's coming from somewhere from these. And since we're not doing it the other way, we're getting rid of this anyway. So we're just gonna throw this on there. Let's see, we'll just do that. We'll have to re-import some things. Maybe a lot of things? All right, let's see. Oh, we don't have a frame in here. Wait, what are they considering? What's their frame? Oh. They actually have a reference to the frame here. So they're doing this, which is calling render, and they're passing the frame in it. So we've got to get the frame all the way to... Because the render function doesn't take that. So can the list not be inside of another widget? But they do in the other example, don't they? So if we go to this, they actually render... This render demo here is a... It doesn't have it, but it's a stateful... It's a widget inside of a widget, but it doesn't use render stateful content. Sack, what's up? Can I just call... So yeah, this has like a list, but it's also got its state, right? Oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, am I? Because that's a skill issue. I was petting the pup, okay? I was petting the pup. All right, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I am wondering. So this gives the list state. And this list state is given here. And this is passed in from the highest level. I really just want a auto following the bottom list. Is that too much? I want one that just tracks the bottom. Like as you add more stuff to it. Let's see. So wait, this is doing it how I'm doing it, right? Let's header, main area, footer area, vertical layout, constraint, length, fill, whatever, area. Let list area, item area equal this. App render header, render footer, self.render list. Let's look at where render list is. Render list is here. So we do a block with a to-do list. Iterate through items in the items and stylize them. Okay, don't care about that. This is different than the code that I'm looking at right now. I kind of want to see this example. Let's see, examples. Way too complicated, but this is what I want, except inversed. Go back to tab 1. Do I just do this? Maybe we do this. Maybe we do this. Okay. Well, we'll just wait. We'll just wait. Still downloading. All right, now we could just run this. But I just need to dig into the code, right? We'll see that everything's working, but all right, this is what I want here. Now if we can just find it. Target was the examples demo. So here's the logs, which we were kind of the thing that we wanted. Oh, instead of list, they're using stateful list here. Interesting, interesting, interesting. One second. Asher, come here. Come here. Good boy. Good boy. Come here, Asher. Good boy. Come here. So we had a little. Come here. Come here. Let everybody see you. Let everybody see. I know. Ayla doesn't like you being in here, does she? She does not. Oh boy. Come here. Come here. Come on. I know. I know. You're a good boy. So we had a little bit of. Come here. Come on. Get up here. Get up here. Here. There we go. This guy. My big bad German Shepherd. He got beat up by a cat. Yeah, he got. Oh, don't like the don't like the microphone. You good boy. And that's why I had to go. He was getting beat up by a cat. I had to go save him. Poor boy. Poor boy. Go on. Poor dog. He gets beat up by everybody. So he's a puppy, and he doesn't know how to behave. And so most of the other animals just get on to him about learning how to behave. All right, let's see. With items to Vec, okay. Let's see how we're doing this. Just, when do we render this, though? Like, we don't do anything with this. So let log equals item.pop unwrap. Okay, so this is just taking the one and putting it at the bottom. This is why it cycles, which is fine. I get that. When does this get rendered? Where? Like, how is this added to the... So I see here we have an app. I don't understand what's going on here. I don't understand how it gets rendered. Like, none of these things are getting rendered called on it, right? Is that happening in a different, this is the app. Let's see what's going on in main here. This is where we're driving the tick rate. Okay, okay. I think we're missing this right here. I think this is what we're missing here. So we have a winder widgets. Okay. Cool. On the tabs. Okay. So we're going to draw the first tab. Draw first tab. All right. We're passing the frame to all of these, aren't we? So draw logs. What is this considered? This is in draw charts. Okay, so we do a let logs vec a list item, logs items iteration map. So we're mapping across all of the things in the logs, okay. So for each item, we match on whether it's an error, critical, or warning to do some stuff. Okay, so they can just do that in a block. Let logs equals list new logs. So we're just doing a new list. That's what our log is. But it is doing the frame render stateful widget. Shoot. Is there no easy way to do a list inside of a widget? So if it's a stateful widget, it can't have a sub widget, is what I'm figuring out, right? Or the sub widget can't use a stateful widget, I guess. Because I wanted to put a list inside of a widget, but I don't think that looks really possible, does it? I don't know, this feels very weird to me. So all of these things have to be drawn not at the widget level. Because this is literally passing the frame in. So that means my idea of like nesting the widgets and like making a widget inside of a widget was bad. A widget can't have a widget inside of it. Because if we're doing it this way, you have to call render stateful widget on anything stateful. So either I need to not use the list widget and make my own stateful widget. Or Temporis, how are you doing? Oh, how'd we break the internet? Oh, I didn't break the internet. I'm not that good. I mean, the internet would have never been a thing with me. I'm too dented. I can't even get these things to work correctly. I don't know why I'm feeling so brain dead on this. These UIs don't work how I would expect them to. Did I get good sleep last night? It was okay. I could have gotten a little bit more. A little bit more would have been good. I'm merging my schedule right now, so I'm a little bit in the state of slightly lack of sleep, but mostly because I'm attempting to wake up earlier on my days. So like, yeah. I guess I've actually already been streaming for almost 4 hours. Maybe that's why. Usually at about 4 hours, I start to drag. And I'm starting to feel it. All right. So basically, I just want to do a list right here, like this. Hey, you. Hey, you. Come here. Come here. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. You good boy. Did you get beat up by a kitty? Did that kitty beat you up? I had to go run and rescue him. Poor guy. Was getting beat up by our cat. Yeah. I just hear a dog whining. And here's this he's still a puppy, but he's like 75-pound puppy getting beat up by a 15-pound cat. Backed into a corner. Couldn't escape. He's a good puppy. He's a good puppy. Yeah, brain only has so much juices. Some start with more than others. Mine starts low. Mine starts low, ends low. Let's see. I guess the thing that was weird with this is I wanted to... The way I had thought about laying this out was making each one of these things... So, like, while we play the Wordle game, I wanted to... Or the thought was basically make this as a layered of widgets, where it's like you have a widget that is the list, and then you have a widget that is each item. So I could like style each item inside of the list itself. You know, because like I was thinking eventually it would be like you do something for a Twitch chat, something for a YouTube chat, and you would build the list out this way. This is what I was thinking, but this puts these widgets inside of this widget, inside of a Twitch widget. But it appears that in Ratatouille, these are considered stateful, and all stateful ones have to be drawn at the main like level, which means I can't do this. It means that, so I don't know what it means, I guess is what I'm going to say. Part of me feels like it means I gotta make this just one widget, like one Twitch chat widget that does everything. That is stateful, that implements the same thing that list implements. Like, I basically have to implement all that stuff and can't reuse their stuff. But I feel like that has to be wrong. Like, I feel like that has to be wrong. And I'm just misunderstanding them. But then in all of their examples, like I was pulling up their examples, in all of their examples, so like in this one, in tab 0, this is not a widget inside of a widget. It's a widget at the highest level, even the tab. So like maybe that's just how cross-term does, or not cross-term, how this does everything is you don't put widgets inside of widgets, which is fine. Which is fine, actually. I can do this. The only thing is that means I don't get to make a widget for like how the chat is stylized. I have to just throw... I don't get to do that. And this is where like I just kind of had to sit and pause and think. Because they just do that here in line. Like literally their styling is done right here. They build 3 different styles and they just apply it inside of the map. So anyways, this is kind of where at 3 hours and 45 minutes of streaming, I got, and I was like, ugh. He started working on this again. I think he, this actually sits better with me. He has. Should I just give this a shot? I haven't used it for a year now. I have to relearn some stuff. I kind of also like to be done piddling with this. I feel like I've not getting other stuff done because I can't get things to multi-thread and have a UI in Rust in terminal, and this is dumb. I gotta think on this. I gotta think about this. I kind of just want to get it done. I have a lot of stuff for us to do this year, and I feel like I'm just getting stuck on TUIs. This was directly something I asked for. Big push. Rewrote how state are handled in templates. Yeah. That's awesome. Maybe I spend some of the time this week seeing what the state of anathema is. Anathema. I always want to say anathema. It's anathema. Anyways, the state of anathema is, and maybe just leveraging the dev branch. Oh, I was looking at this. The puppy keeps distracting me. And then I was just looking at anathema. It seems like you picked work back up on it. I don't know. I'm not sure why people pick the holy war of correcting. Multiple people correct obscure words that aren't strictly English. I guess this was Catholic Church. What are the origins of the word anathema? Is it English? I'm not sure if it is. It's the excommunication, right? A parliament cursed by the Pope or the excommunicate. I guess maybe it's actually English. I thought it was Latin too, but
anathema.
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 Maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually English. Oh, it's Greek. Okay. And then it was the early church, which used it interchangeably with excommunication and unrepentant heretics. Okay, this is what I always knew it as. I actually didn't know in English you could use it as something that someone was vehemently dislikes. Like, I didn't know this. I did know that it was this. Anathema. In the Old Testament? Man, that means this word is old. This word is old. This is old. Yeah, Latin here. Okay, yeah, this word can be used in any language, it turns out. Greek, Latin, English. It's good. It's good. Oh, a version of this word is old? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I doubt it was said the same way in English a while ago. I don't know if you looked into English, it's changed quite a bit. Especially the English I pronounce. All right, I gotta think about this. I'm not gonna do anything more on this today. Yeah. Well, that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thanks for joining. Hope you all had fun. Sure. All right. Well, thanks for joining. I'm gonna be streaming a little bit more because I got down to where I was only programming on stream once a week, and I just wasn't making progress, and I got to make progress. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, or not Tuesdays, it's not going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays anymore. Wednesdays and Friday mornings, we're going to have a little bit of coding. I may still program some in the weekday evenings, but those are going to be ad hoc when I get the time to do it. And I'm going to try to get through some of this so that we're just keeping more progress, because we got database episodes to do. We got ML things to do. There's one other one that's slipping my mind right now, but we got a lot of things to do. So we're going to have to be making a little bit more progress each week than what I've currently been making. Also, there's just too much gap in between. So like if I'm working some on it on Friday and Wednesday, it means Saturday I'm going to be able to hit the ground running a little bit better, instead of like having a week in between, or like this. It was like 3 weeks in between, and it's like, okay, yeah, I haven't touched the code for 3 weeks. I have no idea what's going on. None whatsoever. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I will see you all later, and let me know how you like the updates. I have some bigger updates to my YouTube channels. You'll see or hear about that a little bit later. Yeah, I'm working on those too. Anyways.